Hello, you beautiful people. We are back with another episode of Hitting the Bars.
What is up? We are so excited to be back with you and chat and catch up on life and have some fun, edgy conversations.
Edgy. Ooh, I thought you were going to say educational. I was like, oh, are we being educational? Switch. We're going for like there's different categories in podcasts. There's like health and wellness, humor, funny. We're going straight educational.
Yeah, magic school bus style.
Yeah. We'll teach the...
So...
Go on.
Oh, what were we going to say?
I honestly, I don't know. I'm slightly brain fried, and you'll find out why in a split second. I think Sav was just about to say.
Yes, I was going to bring up the elephant in the room. You have no boobs. How does it feel?
I don't. I have not. Like, guys, I am flat as a board. It's like when I woke up from surgery, just like I've had implants for 8 years or something. Like I forget life without them. And it was just so weird because once you get like put under, it's like it feels like it's a second. Just like, you know, when you wake up from a dream, like a little nap, and it feels like time didn't exist. Like, and then suddenly I just looked down and I was like, whoa, there's just like nothing there. But all in all, I love them. Like it feels, I'm like, oh, my body just makes more sense. Like there's still a little bit there. I will give my double A's a little love, but they're definitely double A's right now.
Yeah. Was there like a sense of like, it felt familiar because like you had spent so much time without boobs in the past, or like when you woke up and you had none, were you like, oh my gosh, my friends back in the day? Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, fully. It was like how would I describe it? It felt like familiar, and you know,
yes.
when you have been sick for so long and you're like almost forget, like you just have a cold or something, and you're like, I forget what it feels like to be normal. That's kind of what happened. Like, it was just like, I've been like that. That was my new normal. Not to say that for the 10th trillionth time, but it just, I was like, oh my God, this feels right. Like, I was like, I feel like myself. Like, I know it's cheesy, but I was like, like, it's just me down there. Because I never felt since I got implants that they were like me. Like, it was always like, oh, my implants. I never was like, oh, these are my boobs. Like, there was always a weird separation, and that's exactly why I got them out. And now I'm like, oh, those are just my guys. Like, my body makes sense more, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. I love that. That's amazing. And Keltie and I were FaceTiming last week, like post-surgery. She was feeling rough. And I was like asking you about it, and you were showing me them, and you're like, I'm so excited. And we were like, it's a brand new boob job in a sense. Like, a no boob job. But now, because we were saying you can wear all the cute tops, like we were talking, I love like Emma Chamberlain. Like she's so cute and petite and wears like those cute crop tops without a bra on, and like you can do that now. You know, like it's not sexualized anymore. Like I feel like when you have boobs, it's so sexualized if you want to wear that. Where like if you have smaller like boobs, you can kind of wear whatever you want and it doesn't look so sexual. It's like cute and trendy, and I'm excited to see your style.
I think, I'm excited because that was actually a big change when I got them, because like I never got them being like, I know some girls, and I'm only for that, like that's the look you're going for. You want that like really voluptuous, sexy look, and like that was never how I dressed, and that was always what I loved about my like flatter chest growing up, because I could wear like super low V's, and like remember like the J-Lo top, like that when she had like the slit all the way down to her belly button, that like green and blue dress or whatever. I was like, I was saying about that, like never felt overly sexy, like, or it felt sexy, but like it didn't feel like inappropriate. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like, whoa, who's trying to show sign about that? And that's how I always dressed. And then suddenly I got boobs, and I was like, yeah, you can't go to a family dinner like that anymore. It's the best way I would describe it. Like
cute, anymore. It's like, not that ooh, hello.
It's just a lot more attention grabbing. Even like this has been the nicest change for me, is I didn't realize for myself for so long, especially because like I had big fake tits for my body size. I feel like at least I did. I always like kind of hid them. Like I never stood up straight because you never wanted to be like, well, bow, boobs in my face. Like that was just, and now I can like stand chest out because it's like there's nothing to stick in anyone's face. But like my posture's already improved. Yeah, and that's been the best part.
Yeah, that's so crazy. I was just telling Michael about that. How you said like your posture's different, because I remember when you wake up and like you feel like there's just rocks on your chest, and then you just kind of get used to that weight. Like your muscles are just so overwhelmed. So I bet it was just like a breath of fresh air for like your chest to be like, oh, like, even though they had gotten used to that weight and it's minimal weight, it's still like uncomfortable in a sense for them to have that unnatural pressure on it. So I bet that was like nice.
Oh yeah.
Full come to boob Jesus moment.
It was great. I'm so excited to like even like we went. I haven't really been able to like clothes shop yet because I'm still have my stitches on, and like that's kind of like I don't want to try on clothes and not buy it. And it's like, oh, there's an open wound on your body. But we yesterday was finally like it's all like stitched up and like covered. So we were like, hey, we'll go try on something. And I was like, it is so fun to shop because I just feel my style has always been like there's so many things I wanted to wear that couldn't, and now I'm like, oh, I gotta wear the things I wanted to wear, which is so fun.
That's awesome. We love that for you.
Oh, thank you. It's
a
freedom.
Queen that's recovering.
Oh, it's coming. So right now, if like I slur up my words or just you're like, wow, that was odd phrasing, give me a little bit of slack. I'm still on a little bit of drugs, a little under, but I feel a lot better. We were going to film last week, and oh my God, Sav would have had to carry way too much of the podcast. It would have just me being like, if I filmed last week.
Yeah, good soup.
Yeah, I made that reference because all I ate was soup, and Megs clearly isn't on TikTok, and he just looked blankly at me because I kept everything I ate. I was like, good soup. And then eventually I had to explain to him what it meant. How'd you explain that? I was like, well, it's this meme about this guy eating soup, and he says good soup. So anything we eat, we say good soup. He's like, what?
Yeah, that's like, TikTok references, if they don't watch TikTok, it's awkward. You're like, because they're so random, they don't make sense.
And explaining, like, because you're just kind of in on the joke, and if you're not in on the joke, like I said the other day, I was like, perfect.
I say that all the time.
Exactly.
I literally like say it like in my YouTube videos because that's how I feel. Like perfect.
Exactly.
Yes.
But if you don't know it, like it just seems like a weird I don't want to say like Tourette's, but it out of context, like TikTok references, just out of nowhere, you're just like perfect, good soup.
Yeah.
It's just like a weird twitch we all have now.
Yeah, I agree. It was back in the YouTube days when we'd watch like Charlie the Unicorn and Charlie Bit My Finger.
Oh yeah, that's the OG. Isn't that the first video that ever went viral? Charlie Bit My Finger. I think that was like the first internet viral video.
So.
For you youngins.
Charlie bit my finger.
It's a good accent.
That was not a good accent.
Yeah, it's better than mine.
It's okay.
Mine I'd get in trouble for because they're like, that's like Australian or something, or I don't know. I can make accents, but I can't control what accent it is.
Okay, yeah, I get it.
So it just comes out, and then you're like, that's Texan.
Yeah. They're like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, I try.
Yeah, well, cool. Shall we jump into today's topic?
We should, because today's is saucy. So let's just dive in.
Super saucy. We had a podcast planned to drop, and when this happened, we said, nope, we're dropping everything and we're filming this and discussing it because we had so much to say. So get ready for a juicy one. We're excited to unravel this coming situation that we're about to chat about. Do you want to kick it off, Keltie?
Kim Kardashian, the queen, the founder of Skims, the OG IG model, the royal family of US. We know who Kim K is. Met Gala. So a week ago, depending when you watched it might have been longer, she wore Marilyn Monroe's dress. Iconic. Queen. A queen wearing an old queen's thing. But the reality is she tried it on 3 weeks ago, I think it was, like before the Met Gala, from my understanding and my research. She tried it on, and it didn't fit. And so it's kind of been for the last little bit. She's never confirmed, like, oh, I'm going to go to the Met Gala, and then she rolls up to the Met Gala wearing Marilyn Monroe's dress, and then she told everyone the reason she didn't commit to the Met Gala is because she had to lose, she estimated she was going to have to lose like 15, 20 pounds to get into this dress from fitting it. And so, yes, she crash dieted 3 weeks, lost 16 pounds. And the internet, as per usual, when it involves a Kardashian, went nuts.
Just blew her up. But, I must say, she looked fantastic on the red carpet. There's no denying that. The blonde hair, the arm candy. Oh. I don't really understand why every girl loves Pete. Is it Pete Davidson? Is that the full name?
Yeah.
He must be just a
like,
funny guy, Like, everyone loves a funny guy.
It's true though. How many times you've met a guy that you like from a distance, you're like, oh, he looks like average, and then they have a good personality, and you're aware that like you're not conventionally hot, but suddenly you're so hot.
Yeah.
Just because like personality makes or breaks a person, I feel fully. And Pete is the epitome of that.
Yeah. Also, I have to give them props on the age difference, because a lot of the times it's reversed. Like a lot of the times it's like George Clooney with like a young supermodel or whatever. And like Kim Kardashian is just straight up Kim Kardashian, that she just gets whatever she wants. And I just, you know, have to applaud that, because you rarely see that, you know. I feel like sometimes it's like when women are older in that realm, it's like
you're done.
You just don't see. Yeah, that's kind of how they act in Hollywood usually.
I think regardless of your thoughts on the Kardashians, love them, hate them, one thing we have to forever keep giving them props for is like promoting that women are hot over the age of 25, because entertainment business has been like that for so long. It's just like, oh, that's why it's like so cliche. It's literally cliche for old men to go for a younger like woman, that they just trade them in like we're new models. Like you're over the age of 25, you're going to get uglier, you're not fertile, you're not sexy, you know what I mean? You're just like old and beat up. And that's how media is painted. That's how you can't be a pop star over the age of 25. And Kardashians were like, F it. Kim's in her 40s and literally the hottest person in Hollywood. And so are her sisters. Like there are obviously Kylie and Kendall are still in their 20s, but like they're all stunning. And yes, they have privilege to be able to do a lot of procedures.
Yeah,
but it's
I was
just
like,
nice
don't forget that.
It's, yes, so there's money, so you're not ugly, you're just not rich. But the reality is money can buy anything. But it's just nice to know. I was like, it's not like you're 25, hang up the bag, you're done as a woman anymore. Like you can still keep putting in the effort. As you said, you just got to keep working hard, as Kim K said, and you can get there.
Yes, but sorry, we're getting sidetracked on, I just had to state that, you know, regardless of how people feel, she rocked it, and good for her for that point being. But we did want to kind of dive into the outrage, the social media just, oh my, from the minute she blew up, she got torn back down. It was like the Met, they were like, oh my gosh, we love it. And then the minute she started opening her mouth and really expressing what happened, that's when it was a downfall. I think it was a loss on
it
her
was
end.
all like, oh my God, Marilyn Monroe, she's wearing it, iconic, beautiful. Crash dieting, like anti-diet culture immediately came with good reason. So yeah, we're going to start off just right prefacing 3 weeks, 15 pounds weight loss is not attainable. It is not how you diet. If you are on a weight loss journey, 1 to 2 pounds a week is a very realistic, sometimes even 0.5 pounds. It's going to be
depending on your body. It's all depending on your body fat percentage ultimately with what you start, you know. But
the reality is that even if you're like 400 pounds, 16 pounds a week is still not realistic. Like that is like 16 pounds 3 weeks. That's there's very few people that can like qualify as like that being healthy. And the reality is like the more severe you diet, the faster you diet, the more likely you are to bounce back, because you had to go through such severe, and it just messes your hormones. Like that's why you go gradually and slowly, because the gradual slow, your hormones stay level. You crash, your hormones are all over the place, and that encourages yo-yo dieting. So yeah, as soon as she posted about this, because I'm gonna actually quickly Google should we see what she did? I don't even know
well, I follow Kim Kardashian on Instagram, and I noticed like do you follow them?
I like pop in all the time, but like I don't know if I actually follow them.
I recently started following them because I was like, you guys have a reality TV show that is very interesting. I like watch it when I get my nails done, or if I'm on the Stairmaster, and I'm just like, it's my
dirty pleasure.
But yeah, so I was like, what are you guys up to? Because I like they actually put what they're doing on their stories. And she was constantly posting, and I guess I wasn't up to date with her trying to fit in Marilyn Monroe's dress. Like, I don't know if she came out fully about that before, but I do remember seeing, like, every single morning, it'd be like 4 a.m., 5 a.m., she was in a sauna sweatsuit doing a Stairmaster, and I was just like, why? Like, why is this every morning? And then once this happened, I was like, okay, this makes more sense. So what did she say to wasn't she interviewed on the red carpet when she was like walking
so
or something?
From my reminders, and I'm just trying to get here's it. She's like pretty much said she hadn't eaten a carb in like 3 weeks, and like you said, she was doing sauna twice a day, running on the treadmill, pretty much from my understanding, it was the cliche protein and veggies. She was quoted saying she wasn't like super restrictive, and I think obviously that's a very restrictive diet, just carbs and just vegetables and protein. But I think she meant from the idea of like she didn't just like
she wasn't
not
starving
eat for 3 weeks. Like she still ate and feel, which like honestly, sadly in Hollywood is probably good because you see some of the diets these like celebrities go through. I'm not saying what she did was good, but I'm saying there is literally cases of people who like drink cabbage juice for 4 weeks and that's all they do. So I think that's like who she's comparing it to versus general population. That's a very restrictive diet. But in Hollywood, how sad is that that's like not considered a restrictive diet, just going off protein and veggies? Like that's just like commonplace.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. And I think like the biggest like kicker that I think like really alerted people was when she posted on her story being like donuts and pizza right after she went to the Met. Kind of promoting and like showing people that she was doing the yo-yo dieting, was doing she's gonna binge now that she fit into the dress. So I think that's also what like raised a lot of anger, was that probably triggered a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's such like a confusing situation because like I see all sides. Like right there, we realize like it's a micro event in her. Like she's like, she had this one opportunity, she dieted down, and she probably had no intention to keep that weight down. So in her mind, she's like, I want to put the weight back on a little bit, or she's like, I'm not trying to stay at this. Let's go pick out on donuts. And like that's probably, she's like, I treat myself. And I don't think that's that bad in the idea of like, if for whatever reason you had something you were paid millions of dollars for, you had to go on a strict diet, and then you go treat yourself. I think it's when it becomes like a macro event, like it's every weekend, it's every week, and like that's why it was probably super triggering for someone, because someone could be, especially eating disorders went like through the roof in COVID, like so many, and you're like, if you're in that cycle, it's just seeing that like played off, and that can be triggering for some people. It's a very harmless thing. It's, you go treat yourself. We all do that. You save up for something, treat yourself. But then it's like when it's every week, it's like, I think the difference is treating yourself and punishing yourself. Like that's like where, and it's going to be different on every person. It's a very blanket statement, but I agree. Like it probably sadly did trigger a ton of people, and a lot of other people saw it as like super harmless.
Totally. Yeah. That's the thing I think with this whole situation is like Keltie and I are very much like playing devil's advocate in all aspects as we get into this conversation. Cause you know, we do want to acknowledge like there's a place and feeling, I guess, for everybody in every circumstance. And I think it just got out of hand. Like even we had talked about this before we hopped on this podcast, bringing up how Lily Reinhart, who is Betty from Riverdale, she, love. And I think, I feel like she's like a up and coming star because she was in Riverdale for so long. So I feel like,
for sure.
Like she has a huge following, and on her stories, I pulled it up, but she was like very angry, and like didn't say it was Kim Kardashian, but it was pretty obvious, saying to walk on a red carpet and do an interview where you say how you're starving because you haven't eaten carbs in a month, all to fit in a fucking dress. And then she goes on like saying so wrong, and just kind of talks about how, you know, Kim has like this entire following that looks up to her of young men and women, and they're listening to every word. And she goes on to say like, you know, the ignorance is, she says, otherworldly and disgusting. And it's just like, she really expressed how toxic it was for her because she's came out and said that she's had like body image problems before. So I guess, should we start there?
Yeah, and I think that's one thing, just go off perspective. So we put ourselves in Lily Reinhart's shoes. So I don't want to butcher it, I don't want to say, but I know she comes from, she's a big advocate of like body positivity, anti-diet culture. She's been open about, I want to say she is in that body dysmorphia, has some problems with food, that kind of realm. And so when she sees something that, she's triggered. And so it's like a reminder, anytime someone talks like that, that's going to be like her reality. And like it's like a catch-22 because slightly ignorant, you could say, of Kim Kardashian, because it's like she's never lived that. She's never thought. So she says, she's like, oh, just diet down. She's in Hollywood. Everyone's dieting all a second. So she just kind of just said what really went down, and then Lily sees it as like she's promoting it. And like that's the tough line, is like, and I feel for someone like Kim Kardashian, because it's like everything you say is promoting the idea, but it's like she might have not, she just like was honestly honest, I think. And like, but then I can't deny Lily and all the people who do have those issues with foods and a binge restrict, or just realizing Hollywood for so long has been like size 0 is the only thing acceptable, and Marilyn Monroe is such like the epitome of Hollywood. So it's kind of going off with that idea of like, you fit into the dress, you hit into the stereotype, and I think that's where like Lily's mind went with that.
Yeah, for sure. And you're totally right. Like, even I think in the fitness industry in general, you know, there's those people that swear by counting macros, and they love it and they get results. And I have friends that do it, and like, they don't associate it, you know, with a bad like mental image at all. That's like, just for them, it's numbers, it's science, whatever you call it. But then for someone like me, like I can't do that. I get too consumed. So it's truly just like, there's really no right or wrong way with that, at least when I'm referring to this macro counting. It's just truly off of preference and like who you are as a person, what your past experiences have been, and like what simply triggers you. And you're right, like for Kim, maybe we don't know, but maybe for her it wasn't triggering. Maybe it was, you know, like, this is a role that I want to play, and why can't I get into this? It's a big goal of mine. I do it once a year, the Met Gala, you know, maybe that's just how she felt about it.
Pin that moment of like macro counting, because I want to kind of come back to that, and that with the fitness industry. But also you were leading off to, I think, I'm going to step in and defend Kim. And I definitely fall into like the anti-diet culture world a lot. Like I think it's the stupidest thing. The idea that a woman has to fit into a certain size to be acceptable, to be pretty, that I come from the idea of women should be powerful and strong and perform, and you should feel your body, and you should eat. Food is joy, and we shouldn't attach our morals to food. Like, it should just be a fun experience that fuels your body or like creates memories, and it's fun. At the end of the day, food sometimes isn't that deep. It's just a cookie's a cookie, and not tying so much weight into it. But I think there's like the part that really kind of I wasn't actually mad at Kim when I heard the 16 pounds, because of knowing some things Kim has been quoted in the past. And there was one quote that stood out. She's like, I will do anything for fashion, because to her, fashion is art. And love it or hate it, there's different kinds of art in the world. There's movies, there's literally painting, fashion, there's many things. And like, especially Kim, I think, was known for Kanye. She was known for being like his muse. And like, she just got this divorce, and she's really trying to make her own and being like, no, I don't need Kanye. Like, I am fashion, I'm credible. And she's really trying to make that mark. And I think she was given the opportunity to wear Marilyn Monroe's dress. I'm like, I'm sorry, there's some cases in life, and maybe not everyone agrees. Like, if you pay me $50 million to be a superhero, and you're like, you got to look like this. Or if you're like, you get a chance to walk in the Met Gala wearing Marilyn Monroe's dress. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm dieting down for that. Because you couldn't, it was different if it was any other dress. If it was a dress custom to her, and they're like, you have to diet down to fit it. I'm like, no. The dress changes for you. But the dress wasn't allowed to get altered. It was Marilyn Monroe's dress, and she had the opportunity to get into it. And it really pissed me off, because there's been so many times men have done this, and no one's mad about it. They're so care about their art. Like Christian Bale, and I know Jared Leno, and who else was it? Have all like severely, like, she didn't lose so much that like she looked gone, like she looked lean, but it wasn't like she risked her organ failure. Like, they went to the point of like risking their organ failure dieting, and they were praised. They were like, see, they care so much about it. And then in her mind, she cares about fashion. It was like, this is her Oscars, the Met Gala, and she dieted down just specifically for that. And then suddenly now everyone's outraged at her. I was like, where's the outrage for the men? So I found it kind of like, the idea of anti-culture is kind of in that, I'm not so correct on all the terms, but it's definitely just like promoting women. We want women to rise above and not be like held down in that. But then suddenly a woman does something for an art and just be recognized and have her achievement, and then we're just ripping her down. So I was like, oh, guys, yeah, maybe it's just weird that it's tied into this. Like, so much of women's rights is in diet, sadly. So I get why they get tied together, but it's just like, I think she was given a once in a lifetime opportunity, and she took it. And maybe she didn't do the best way about it, but I'm like, I think a lot of us would have done it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, even random fact, remember like a couple months ago when like guys, this is gonna sound so weird, but I got like this random person that reached out to me casting being like, I want to, remember they're we're looking for someone to play this role, and it was this woman that was like going to be bodybuilding, and she like hitchhikes to like, I don't know, Vegas or something for some competition, and like gets stuck in New Mexico, whatever. And they were like, we're looking for somebody that has like never acted, like outbreak star, whatever. And I was like, oh my god, that sounds so cool. I've never acted, but why not? I'll try it. I like things that scare me. So like in the role, I was like, why would you choose me? Like, how did you find my page? And they're like, oh, well, it seems like you'd be comfortable, like you wouldn't mind changing your body for a role. Like you'd have to get lean or, you know, prep as if you were going to be a bodybuilder. And I was considering doing it. Like if I would have landed that role, I was like, sure, like it's a once in a lifetime chance. Like why not do a movie? I've never done it. Cross it off my bucket list. So yeah, it's kind of like, I can see that where maybe that was just her, it was a role, like you said. And this is something she was looking forward to. And yeah, I guess once in a lifetime, I've never been asked to wear Marilyn Monroe's dress. I don't think anybody really has. So yeah, totally.
No, that's why it was iconic. And like, I think it's like so, and that's why it's so complicated, because they've just been in the public eye for so long. So it's like you can see so many sides. It's like, I think one of the problems with media and like the entertainment business is realizing that like it's entertainment, not what everyone is expected to be. And it's kind of a blessing in social media. Like, yeah, social media has its talks, but you see so many different people versus before it was like, these are the 20 celebrities, this is what you have to aspire to be. But we shouldn't aspire to be a celebrity because they're getting paid, like I said, $50 million to look like this. And it's, I kind of lost my train of thought with that, but there's the meds kicking in. I was like, I had a thought and it's gone. Oh my God, it's coming back. But just that idea of that, like, it's not, I kind of like that Kim at least admitted to it, that she died it down that severely. Because I think a really toxic thing also that's not talked about is really popular about 10 years ago. Think, you know, heroin chic era, Victoria's Secret. It was all these supermodels that were starving themselves, but they didn't want people to know, which I get. Like, they don't want to promote starvation. But they said that, and they're like, oh, no, I eat a cheeseburger, and I just had a cheeseburger. And, like, imagine if Kim just also, I was like, would it have been worse if she suddenly was like, no, I just perfectly fit in Marilyn Monroe's dress, and I was always this size, and you know what I mean? Like, I was like, I kind of give her props that she was like, no, this sucked, and I had to diet down. And so I kind of like that there's just more openness about it, and I think it starts to, hopefully people start to realize, if you're watching someone, you see someone do it, you realize it's art. They're not saying you should look like this. You should not try to look like this. And the media, that's kind of the nice thing about social media, is it's not just 5 people to look at it. It's just the major celebrities. Like, you can be any size, but there's the reality. Acting, you're trying to be someone else. She tried to be Marilyn Monroe for that night. Yeah, it's not quote unquote movie, but at least she admitted to it. I kind of like that she didn't lie.
You kind of wonder that they had to have thought this out. Like, her press team must have thought about this. Yeah. Because I imagine the conversation being like, look, Kim, are we about to do some smoke and mirrors, typical Hollywood, just be like, oh guys, on the daily, I look like this and casually fit into this dress. Or maybe they were like, you know, let's just be transparent for once. And I mean, maybe also, I feel like the Kardashians like always get like canceled or like torn down, but they always they like grow back stronger. Like they literally, it's like a mutant almost, where they just like grow back stronger and stronger and work their way up. And you know, I'm like, respect with that. So maybe they were like, dude, what do you have really, like, at least you're transparent. And I don't know, it'd be interesting. I clearly haven't looked this up, but I wonder if she's ever addressed this past.
Yeah, I haven't seen like
the red carpet.
I looked into it and didn't see, because I think that's just, they're at this point, they're in a new controversy every week because they're so big that like they don't even have time to apologize unless it's like super severe. And I think they just take it. They're like, okay, there's buzz about me, on to the next thing. The show's coming out. Who cares? Because that was like, I guess my only, like I said, I was like, you know what? No one gets mad at guys doing it. The one thing, I guess, that I think would have been fine, and a learning lesson from Kim, but she's not a pro anti-diet warrior. Like, she doesn't know the correct terms, and that's what you got to give her that. I think it would have been nice had she said that and been like, yeah, this is not realistic. This is too severe. I did it for the art. I'm going to go, and I want to be a role model to my daughter. I'm going to go put the weight back on. You should not expect to be this size. I wouldn't ever do this normally. Like, she's been on 100 red carpets. She's never done this. It was just like this once in a lifetime opportunity to wear Marilyn Monroe's dress. And so it's kind of like, but then she could have said that and it's just not being cut.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? For all we know. Like, it's like, she could have afterwards been like, yeah, no, this is not realistic, but media likes to just take those little snippets and talk about that.
That is true. I didn't even think about that. Maybe they didn't. But I mean, she also does have a platform. I do think, personally, I think maybe she should have addressed this to her followers and just said, because there are people looking up to her, and I see that things can get like skewed and what's not even the proper word for that? Can get lost in translation, especially when it comes to how she admitted to dieting and things like that. So I think if she just would have cleared the air a little bit and just said, like you just stated, like, this is not realistic. Like, guys, she's Kim Kardashian. She has the most expensive trainer. She probably has the money for these weird sauna suits.
Exactly.
She has the money to like still monitor that she's like not going to pass out. Like, I don't know her life, but I'm assuming like if you and I tried to do this, like, it'd be really fucking hard, and I would not have even the resources / like the will to do that. Like, it's just. It's a different ballgame.
Just to put in perspective for everyone, if I had to lose 16 pounds right now, they're just like, Keltie, you got on your own 3 weeks. Even if I stopped eating, I don't think I'd lose 16 pounds in 3 weeks. Like that's why I was like, her water, everything. Like, do you know what I mean? There's like so many different things, and like to do it without dying, because that's what I think. I was like, if I didn't eat for 16 days, my electrolytes would be everywhere. Like my calcium, my omega level, like everything would be so screwed up. So she's probably getting IVs. She's like perfectly calculated salt intake, like all that like the average person does not have. And that's another thing with like celebrities, is realizing like, yeah, they make the big money, but they also have the money to spend on it. Like a lot of like LeBron James, I know it's athletes, it's a bit different, spends $1 million a year on his body. So that's like personal training, diet, nutrition. So it's kind of like, yeah, you better look good with that much money. Like, we all have like $50 disposable income extra to buy some supplements a month and just like pick healthier options at the grocery store and get it to the gym. And like that's why I was like, it's tough, because I understand from the consumer looking at celebrities, like they're the goal, you want to beat that, but also like you kind of have to like put yourself in the shoes of Beyonce and Kim Kardashian before they're Beyonce and Kim Kardashian, when they didn't have 12 assistants. And like, you don't have the same 24 hours as days with Beyonce. We don't. Like, because they have 3. They don't do their taxes. They got accountants. They don't do their makeup. They got makeup artists. They're not right. Like we don't have the same 24 hours. That's the reality.
That's totally right. Even watching Keeping Up, this is a sidetrack, but like watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians right now, it's so funny. I recently watched the one where like Kourtney gets proposed to, and she's like, the girls knew I wouldn't have time to touch up my glam, so they hired glam. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I could not imagine.
That's what I was like, that's what you,
it's just so different. Yeah, it's so fun to watch, and it's like, there's no shade. Like, honestly, I love that. I'm like, that is amazing. I would want my glam too if I was you. But yeah, it's
fully
like a lot of times we may not have those resources / even like that opportunity to have this presented to us, you know? Yeah. But yeah, so I guess like all in all, we definitely, what Keltie and I are trying to say is, I don't know, what are we even trying to say? I think we were just trying to discuss.
Yeah, we were just discussing, because like I was like right away, I was like, there's so many angles, and like sometimes I love that we're moving away from diets, like F diets and all that. Like, of course, like if anyone, me and Sav, if you follow us on anywhere, is known, we're just a lover of foods and drinks, and that's kind of our thing. But like, God, sometimes does it have to be so deep? Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes, like I get it, sometimes it is. And if you're struggling with weight loss or weight gain, it's deep and it's hard. And I love you, and I'm sending you a little hug, because I'm not referring to you, but like the media, sometimes we just got to be like, let's not put so much weight on it, no pun intended, but like, you know what I mean? Sometimes I'm like, it's so much, and I was like, it just depends on the person. Like, it's so subjective.
Sometimes you just feel like you also hit a point in your fitness journey, which I feel like we both have touched on, where you just like, quite frankly, don't give a fuck anymore. You're just like, dude,
Yeah.
I just want to eat what I want to eat and like live my life without having anyone criticizing me. And you've kind of figured out what you want, you know? Like we can hear all these things. We can let these consume us if we want. But if you want to go a different route with your own journey, like truly like, you know, hear this, okay, interesting, put it away, keep working on you, do whatever you want to do. And I don't even know where I'm going with that. I feel like I'm going in a circle, but I just feel like you're totally right. Sometimes it has to be so deep of, this is why I look X, Y, and Z, or this is why I work out, and like, sometimes you just want to freaking work out. Sometimes you just want to get movement in, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And I think it's some of you listening are going to like resonate. You might be in like 20s, early 30s. You're like, no, I'm at that like, I don't give an F anymore attitude. And it's like a nice place. And some of you might not be there, but just know it's coming, and you'll know the day it comes, because before you're like so invested in what other people are doing, and like everything that doesn't align perfectly with you is like an attack on you. Like I don't want to like use Lily Reinhart. She recently probably went through that. She recently opened up about it. So anything that comes about that is like an attack on her own journey. And I'm not saying like we're ahead of her or anything in that. I just mean like that's just a clear example. But you just kind of get to a point that you're like, yeah, no, I'm going to eat this because I want to eat this, and I'm going to move this way because I want to. And it's like no one can tell me otherwise. Like, okay, the bodybuilding world's going to be mad that I did cardio. And, you know, the body positivity movement's going to be mad because I'm like, oh, I'm feeling bloated. I think I'm just going to clean up my diet for a week. And, like, oh, heaven forbid we can't even say that anymore. It's just, like, it's just nice when you get to a place that, like, it's truly coming from you. And I guess that actually might just be a nice tie-up right there. Is, like, if you look at a Kim Kardashian and you're like, I need to look like that. I need to look 16 pounds. I'll be happier. Like, that's not coming from a place that you want that, really. It's like media influence. You should get to a place that, like, no matter what's in front of you from media, you're kind of like, oh, okay. Like, it doesn't affect you. And, like, that's a nice place to get to. And, like, that's what we're trying to get you to. So anything we say, anything anyone else says, you're just kind of like, okay, valid opinion. Moving on.
Yeah, totally. It's even like why we kind of wanted to touch on this, because it's so interesting. I feel like I've never really heard a celebrity admit to something like this. And someone as big as her, I feel like she kind of runs Hollywood at the moment.
Fully.
And, you know, just kind of discuss it, like pick at it and just see like what are all the aspects, like, you know, what are the thoughts on it, instead of just like associating just horrible things and moving on. Being like, I don't like her anymore and moving on. I'm like, I always want to understand all of the perspectives, because once you pick a very clear side, that's almost when you go wrong, in a sense of like you won't look at anyone else's opinions. Like there's always another story, there's always more truth to be told, or just a different opinion. And it doesn't mean that your opinion's wrong, it doesn't mean their opinion's right. It's just like a way to understand, because not everybody thinks the same. And I just feel like sometimes people can be so left or right with certain things, when in reality, like, I think it's great to see both aspects and then kind of
not
choose
always
what
seeing
you
people
want.
like on the opposite side as the enemy. Like sometimes, like I love listening to podcasts on consuming books of like things that I do not agree with, just because it's like, it's curiosity. Just being like, what would cause someone to do that? Like even just think of like, lack of better terms, like a serial killer. Like I'm not trying to be a serial killer when I read a book, but you're just like pure human fascination of just like understanding. And that's like a really massive polar opposite like me, but like just like knowing you have a friend who's just on the opposite side of the spectrum on something, instead of like fully being like, we can't have a conversation, just like, let's just have the conversation, just be like, oh, what was it that caused you to say that? And just like, I think that the world is really lacking that right now.
For sure. Oh my gosh, yeah. I feel like we live in a world where you can't almost say how you feel sometimes, because people will come at you. But I think that's where we find like a fault, because we need, like, the world goes round by having so many different opinions. Like there is no such thing as just like straight up one opinion on something.
And it's like fun to hear other ones because then, like I said, just approach everything with like.
Totally.
I guess that's where you and NY was like, even loved you from the start is like just a sense of curiosity, and you're just like, it's not. You're gonna hear the other person's story. You're gonna hear their perspective and be like, hey, what? Why did you say that? Why didn't you say that? Like, and just get to know someone versus being like, what you said was wrong. I was like, hey, you're just cutting off actually getting to the root of all problems. If we just like hit indifference and just stop talking. I was like, hey, let's work through this, figure it out. Like that's kind of what we did today. Like we weren't coming in, like half of me wanted to defend Kim K and half of me wanted to be like, hey, no one try to lose 16 pounds in 3 weeks. That's so unrealistic. And like, we shouldn't be promoting it, but celebrities shouldn't be lying. And that's why I was like, let's just kind of like work through it. And hopefully by the end, we don't have to have an answer. We just kind of be like, this was just a once in a lifetime situation for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like when I have this, how do I word this? When I was growing up, a lot of my family members were very, very like judgmental on a lot of things. And I really did not like that perspective. Even when I was young, I was like, oh, you didn't even hear that person out. Like, you know, why did that person do that? Do you even know? And they're like, no, like they just like cut them out of their life because they didn't agree with something they did. But there was never like, kind of like you said, like, oh, let's hear their story firsthand. And I think that's why I feel so strongly, even just in my life in general, of always hearing all sides, whether it comes to religion or politics or whatever it is. I'm always just like, I just want to hear everybody's perspective because there's so much to learn and so many different viewpoints that I would never think of it that way, you know?
And it's so true. Like, and I think by not talking about it, we forget that sometimes the conversation is the exact same conversation, but we're saying it in a different font. In the sense that, like, well, because we are very fitnessy. So I'm going to use fitness as an example. I've always laughed at the, like, keto versus vegan versus paleo diet and all this. And I'm always sitting back being like, you all are arguing the exact same thing, just in a different color. And, like, because it's all just, like, and that's, like, just a funny thing. It's all, like, whole foods that leave you with good energy, that allow you to work out, that you enjoy eating, and can see yourself doing long term. Some people that's going to be keto. Some it's going to be vegan. Some it's going to be paleo. Some it's going to be what we were talking about before, counting macros. And for some people, it's not going to be. And I think the problem is when you like just that's why I was like, why can't we just all realize it's the exact same argument, but just with a different lens? Like we're all just trying to get people healthier and happier and enjoying the food, and it's helping their digestion. And the more people that are doing that, and that's why I was like, it would be nice if a vegan and a keto person could acknowledge, because there's people that have seen crazy health benefits from both, but you don't know unless you try. And by just like painting one black or white, like is right or wrong, you could be eliminating a lot of people for figuring out what works for them. And that's, I was like, why you're all arguing the same thing at the end of the day, just like it's different. And obviously, okay, there's ethical issues with meat and plants, so that was a very just broad example, guys. So don't dig too much into it.
Yes, I totally agree. It is crazy how just now, this day and age, everyone is so like black and white, and but I feel like we're gonna get there.
We're slowly, and like that's what I was like, when you can just all be happier, that everyone's getting happier, and like sorry it's cheesy, guys, and like because at the end of the day, me just coming in and be like everyone has to eat meat or you're gonna die by the time you're 36 is like hot topic and people click it, and like but realizing that's just. We just need to stop feeding it. That's the half the thing. Not only do we have to stop saying it, consumers have to stop consuming that kind of content and giving it life. And like, I don't have an answer. If someone puts a title like that, that's crazy. Sadly, I click on it. Kim Kardashian loses 16 pounds.
Totally.
Clicking. It's like, which is, it's a bigger issue in itself.
Yeah. I feel like that's a whole nother episode one day.
Social media.
Social media. Well, shall we wrap it up, my queen?
We shall. How should we wrap it up? Do you have any good stories from the weekend? Any drunken stories we can leave? Oh, I had my first beer after
surgery. How was
surgery on Saturday?
Were you
I got buzzed. One beer and I was like, let's party, people, but I can't move my arms. So it was like, if you know me, I'm a hugger. Touches my
and you couldn't hug?
I'm a DJ. All I want to do is hug and wave my arms. So it's in like, just like I'm just like walking around like this and like sipping my beer. But like, my boyfriend had to control me just from the simple, he knew if I had like any more, I'd be like, I'm good to go, guys, let's go dance. He's like, you can't lift your arms.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. I'm trying to even think. Yeah, I love that. This weekend, what did we even do? We went to the beach one day. Ooh. And okay, so Michael and I always tried to like meet more people because I'm like, I want to make more friends. Like, I'm in this environment, I don't know a lot of people, I'm only comfortable with a certain amount. We need to branch out. So Michael randomly meets, this is what I love about him. He randomly is like watching the sunset in one of our golf carts, like at the ocean. And this couple pulls up and they're watching it too. And Michael has our dog Bentley and he's like, oh, beautiful sunset. This is how I'm imagining their conversation. And they start talking. He's like, what do you guys do? And they're like, oh, we live in, like, I think sometimes they live in Florida. Michael's like, oh, we're from Seattle originally. And it was a couple near our age that were engaged. And he was like, dude, you guys are really cool. I think you'd hit it off with my fiance too. We should all hang out. So this was like months ago because Michael is the world's worst texter. And so he's the one that had their phone numbers. So I'd be like, oh, we should hang out with them. Let's hang out with them. And be like, yeah, text them. And then he would never, because he'd forget. And it was too late when he'd forget. So he finally, this is such a long story, but he finally texted them after months. Oh my gosh. Okay, wait, this is the funniest thing ever. So we planned to hang out with them at the beach. We're gonna grab a drink, hang out at the beach for like an hour. Michael, it's been months and it was dark, like sunset. He's like, I don't remember this couple. I don't remember what they look like. And I'm like, I don't know how you don't remember this, but okay. So we're literally walking around the beach being like, Jessica, because I knew that was her name. I am just like literally staring at anybody. And you know, at the point where you're like, I'm like, people are looking at me and I'm like, are you Jessica? Are you Jessica? Are you? And then we finally meet them and it was really fun. And I had an Aperol Spritz and it was lovely and a nice little beach day, had a lychee martini. So it was a wonderful day and they're super cool. We're gonna hang out with them again. But it just cracks me up because leave it to Michael to forget who these people are. And then the guy wasn't answering his phone either. So we're just like wandering around this beach yelling their names. And I'm like, what if they remember you? Then we seem rude. But don't worry, they didn't either. It'd been a while.
I love that. I love that. Mm-hmm. Actually, I'm going to leave it on this because I need the audience and your advice because your story just reminded me of this. I'm in a predicament.
Okay.
So.
What? Tell me.
Oh, God. There's no way she'll listen to this. But I was like, what haven't she heard? So my next door neighbor on my apartment, just her and her husband live there. She's the nicest lady. And we've lived in the same place for like a year. Right away, we met each other. And like by the second meeting, she remembered my name. She's like, hey, Keltie, da-da-da. And I didn't remember her name. And right in that moment, I should have been like, sorry, what was your... But then I was like, I felt so bad. So I didn't ask for her name again. And now it's been like a year. And every time she sees her, she's like, hey, Keltie. I'm like, hey. And I just don't say her name because I don't know what it is. And now... And so like I'm in too deep. But yesterday, Amazon dropped off a package in front of her door. And so I was like, wait a second. And I like peeked down to like find the name. And so I got it. But it's a super, because I remember now, I was like, oh yeah, it's a very unique name. So I don't know if it's her name or her husband's name. So like, do I just take the 50-50 chance and be like, hey, da-da-da? Or do I just like keep going and like admit defeat that I'll never know her name? Or do I take the chance and just like, I think theoretically it's her husband's name?
Oh my gosh. There's no way you can't. Okay, if I was you, I would Google this. I would Google the names. The first name and the last name. Then maybe their Facebook will come up.
I should have got the last name.
Are you kidding me? Oh my.
I was panicking. I was literally snooping at their Amazon packages in front of their door. Like I was like ducked in. Like I can't bend normally because I don't have arms. I'm like in this squat position just looking at their... What if she opened in that moment? I had to be so fast.
Honestly?
I know.
Okay, if it's a unique name, you could also say...
Yeah?
Oh, do you have her phone number? Would you ever hang out with her?
No.
Because... You could be like, or you could be like, I don't know, but in a sense, hey, put your phone number in, like put your contact in, and then she'll put it in there. I've done that before.
I'm going away.
Yeah, I'm going away. God. Do you mind, like, just if anything fishy, like in the hallways, I have no idea. But, and like, I just think it's good, neighborly
Okay,
safety.
thank you. I needed that. Good idea.
Do that. Let us know if you do it.
Okay, I'll keep you posted. Next time I see her, I'll be like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm going to Europe this summer. Can I have your number? Just give it.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Can I have your number just in case, I need an Amazon package? There you go. And then what you do is you hand her the phone and you like hand it in the contact list and like where it says name. So she's like, oh yeah, I'll put my name in.
Genius. I needed that.
Or, because I was like, if she has her phone, then you could be like, okay, like text me your name so I can save it.
Perfect.
I've done that too. Yeah.
Okay. I love it. If anyone else has advice, or just comment, should I just wing it 50-50 or do Sav's much more practical approach? So, I'm going to try it. Maybe I'll just wing it 50-50 or who place bets in the comments if the video, I'm slurring my words, but I'm like, if it isn't the guy, like if it's the guy's name, how mortifying would that be? And I said the husband's name.
Mortifying.
So I can't even risk that. I think I got to go with the text.
Can you Google if it's like masculine or feminine or anything?
Oh, maybe that's
like,
I know.
I don't know. I'm like, how do we?
I know.
Nancy drew this.
I won't say. Well, I know she works for Lulu. So I was like on LinkedIn, Lulu, like typing her name, and I tried. Nothing came up. So maybe that's a sign it's the husband because nothing came up.
Maybe Lululemon.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, dude, I don't know. Also type in Canada or something.
I got to use your approach.
Okay, try my approach and let me know.
We're a pretty big country.
Yeah,
you can't just say Sam from Canada.
Wait, no.
How big do you think we are? It's only got to be one person in Canada.
Dude, when I was a child, like, I would go to camp every year with these friends.
Yeah.
And they were from Canada. And I kid you not. Okay, I was young. I didn't understand. I would be like, do you know this person? Because you're from Canada. And they were like, you were a complete idiot. It's a country. And of course I knew it was a country, but in my head I was like, maybe you knew the surrounding area they were in.
Oh,
so I didn't mean like, narrow it down. Like when I'm trying to find someone, I will literally be like, I don't know, Bob Richard. And then if like I met him in Puerto Rico, I'd be like, Puerto Rico. So like narrow down Vancouver, Canada.
Okay, I like that.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
Not just Canada.
I
subtracted Vancouver.
I know.
Oh my gosh. I know. I didn't mean it that way. We just gotta tease.
Because sometimes though, you guys live up to the stereotypes here, Americans. Because the amount of time I've gone like in LA and I'm like, oh, I'm from Toronto. They're like, do you know blank? I'm like, no, I do not. It is 2 million people live in the city. It's like, but you guys live up to the stereotype.
Yeah, we're
but
sorry.
I'll never let you live it down.
Exactly.
It's okay. We're just this weird little blurb on the top of you guys that you don't really know much about.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
For everyone that wonders... Oh, God. Anyways.
Wait, what did you want to say?
I was going to do this. Actually, here's a little fun joke. If you're a Canadian at the bar with some Americans, I've convinced so many Americans that we have a moose tax. And like, I mean, a moose tax. So here's what you do. Just want to see. This is my last piece of advice that we're going to end this podcast. So you just go up and they're asking questions like, what's the difference? And I'm like, okay, like, well, the 10% moose tax. I'm like, what's the moose tax? I'm like, well, moose are endangered species and they're like a big deal here in Canada. So for every moose you own, you get 10% off your taxes. And they're like endangered. And I've tricked so many people like, what? I was like, yeah, no, like, and they're like, can you go see it? I was like, no, they're just like running wild. Like, so I own the moose, and his name's like Becky. And I'm like, you always I was like, and just roaming the street. They're like, yeah. I was like, I mean, it'd be cool to see, but I've never known. I just know they're out there, and for everyone you buy and adopt to save, you get 10% taxes off. So there's a nice conversation starter. I've gotten like at least there's 10 people that live in America now that think Canadians have a moose tax because of me at the bar.
I was thinking moose tracks. Huh?
Ooh.
The bomb ice cream.
Oh, great delicacy.
Huh? You're probably like, oh, haven't heard that one before.
Okay, we're going to end this podcast.
We need to wrap this up because Michael and Bentley are like, I need to go for a walk. They both have come up here and I'm like, shoo, boys.
Bye-bye. Girl time.
Yeah.
Have a fabulous weekend. If you haven't already, Sam, go drink some water. Becky, I just called you out, so go drink some water.
Did you just hear Billy's howl?
Yes. Okay, you gotta go. We gotta go.
I hope the mic picked that up because that is so funny. He's like, excuse me, Mom.
Hello.
But yes, everybody go drink some water. I'm like not up to date with Keltie's drink the water joke, so I just love hearing it. Now
so
I want
in
to
on
say
it. If you know, you know.
Yeah, don't forget to follow us on Instagram. Drop a comment. Let us know your thoughts, your feelings, and don't forget to leave us a review. Honestly, I've been reading the reviews. I love them. They're so cute.
I appreciate it. It melts my heart. I was like, I didn't think anyone would write it. And it helps the podcast grow. We don't have a comment section, but you can slide into our DMs on Instagram or leave us a review, and we'd appreciate it because we appreciate you.
There you go.
Cheesy. Yes. Okay, we're going for a go. Bye.
All right, bye.